Hey guys, this is Susan with Pack Leader Dog Training. We're here with Rachel Kohler Dog Training.
Okay.
And we're here for our first Q&A after our 100th question. So that's exciting, starting on the next
Yeah,
100.
right.
So,
It was so exciting to hit that 100 mark.
yeah, I know. I can't believe it's been 100 questions. It's
Right.
crazy.
It's fun. It's been a lot of fun. Ready for the next 100?
Yeah, I'm ready. What you got?
Right. Let's dive in with question 1 for the night. How can I get our 2 dogs to stop pulling on walks?
So what you're going to want to do is teach them a heel. How you do that is first you start out with food luring to teach them the position that you want them in. We teach heel to be on the left side. It's easiest to do it against a wall, so you just use food luring to show the dog the proper positioning. After that, you would layer in some leash pressure, get them to understand what that leash pressure means, and then you would phase in the e-collar. You do all this inside with little distractions, and then you start to build distractions and then work your way outside.
Right. Yeah, so that would be the go-to, like if you have the time and the resources to do that, that would be the go-to, right? Because we want to teach your dog what we want them to do instead. But it is a long process. A lot goes into it to get that final result. Now, some things you can do in the meantime is to just make yourself more relevant to the dogs. There's a few ways you can do that. My first thought is, first off, I think you said you have 2 young dogs. So you're going to want to start by working them individually. For a couple reasons. It's going to help them focus on you more, and it's going to help you handle one dog when you're teaching them. So start with one dog, and then there's 2 activities you can do with them that's going to help you become more relevant, and it's going to help them be more mindful of the leash length, right? So the first one is going to be spatial pressure. I'm hoping to get a video up on this soon, but until then, I'm going to kind of try to explain what it is. And hear me out, because it's going to sound crazy, right? Okay. So spatial pressure is going to make the dog very aware of your space and make your space very relevant to them. To do that, you're going to walk one dog at a time. This can be done inside or outside. You're just going to need space for this. So you're going to walk with your dog, and as soon as they kind of get past your left leg, you're going to turn into them and walk straight into your dog. You're going to walk straight into them until they decide to turn around and walk away from you. Once they move away from you, then you turn around and walk back in the original direction you were walking in. You're going to do this a few times. What it does is, I think I said this, but I'll just say it again. What it does is it teaches the dog to be aware of your body, right? Because now they're going to be like, is this person going to walk straight into me? Because I should probably watch where they're at, right? And they're going to kind of give you space. So they're going to be walking behind you because they're going to be watching you. That puts them in follow mode, right? So if they're behind you, watching to make sure you're not going to walk into them, they're going to just be following you and not worried about pulling. Kind of hard to explain without seeing it. So hopefully I'll get a video out on that soon. But that would be the first thing. Another route you can go is the attention game. Again, just becoming more relevant with the dog. So the way I play the attention game is you're outside. You're walking with your dog. They're on their leash. The leash should be attached to like a martingale, prong collar if you have it, something like that. If you have a prong collar, that's great. Walk with your dog. Once they get ahead of you, or they don't even really have to be ahead of you, I guess, you just make a sharp 180, walk in the opposite direction. There's going to be leash pressure probably, because they're going to probably keep walking straight. So they'll feel that leash pressure. They're going to be like, oh crap, turn around and walk to you. Once they get to you, good job, and you give them some treats, and then you keep walking. And then you'll abruptly turn again. If they don't turn with you, they're going to get a leash pop. They're going to be like, what in the world? Oh, my human's gone that way. Walk with you. Give them lots of treats. So repeat that process a few times, and the dog's going to learn when you turn, if they turn quick enough, they're going to meet that pressure. And then when they're with you, they're going to get treats. So that makes being next to you a super awesome place to be. And then not paying attention to you and wandering off, like maybe not the best choice. So I would do that with both dogs individually, and then you can bring them together.
And one thing to keep in mind with the spatial pressure, when you're using that to stop them from pulling, is just a tip that I noticed. is make sure you do it at the same spot. So you want to be black and white with your dog, right? You don't want to, like, you decide how far is too far in front of you. If you
Okay, you
want them
mean
to
the
be,
dog's positioning be at the same spot.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So if the dog's like, because for us, we train, they need to be behind the left leg. So the second that dog gets parallel to my leg, I'm going to be doing spatial pressure. Just make sure you don't do it at the leg one time and then wait until they're a little bit in front of your leg the next time, because it's just confusing. Whereas if you do it always right at the leg, the dog will know I better not get in front of that leg or
Yeah,
I'll
that's
feel
a
it.
great point.
Yeah.
Right. So anything else? Because those are kind of hard to explain. Like,
Yeah, it's a
I think,
lot. Teaching
no.
heel is hard enough, and then you threw in a second dog. So
Mhm.
I think you did great. Like either option is great if you want to teach the formal heel, or if you just want to do some tips to become more relevant and kind of stop the
Mhm.
pulling. It's totally up to what you'd like to do as far as the approach goes. But yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
good.
definitely work them individually first, because together, like, they're gonna gang up, and
Yeah.
you can't really spatial pressure two dogs at once. Spatial pressuring one is a challenge enough. So work them individually, and if you have any more questions about spatial pressuring or attention game or teaching heel, shoot me a message and I'll see if I can help you out some more. Okay.
All right. So next question. My dog takes me seriously, but not my wife. I told her she needs to talk in a deeper tone. What else can she do?
So we see this a lot, and like family dynamics and things like that. Oftentimes, dogs will seem to respect one person more than another. Um, could be for a few reasons. So my first thought is the whole talking in a deeper tone brings a lot of emotion into it, right? And in dog training, we try to not be emotional. We try to keep it black and white. It is what it is, right? Um, so the dog might respond to your wife when if she uses a deeper tone, but it's probably not going to be a respect thing. It's probably going to be I may be a little timid of that voice, so I'm going to just probably stop whatever I'm doing because the voice is startling. Um, so my go-to would be like, what's the dog's day look like? Is the dog getting structure throughout the day? Like, I'm guessing like husband, right? So husband, are you the one feeding the dog? Are you the one giving the dog commands? Are you walking the dog? Are you doing all those things with the dog and the wife's just loving on him? Because that could be like the relationship issue there. So you want your wife to bring in some of that structure too. So if your dog is trained, you want your wife to be a part of that training. You want your wife to be a part of the dog's schedule. You want your wife to become relevant. So even things like the spatial pressure and attention game, right? Doing those sort of activities with the dog is going to make her become more relevant. And then you also have to make sure, if this is a trained dog, right, that your wife is holding the dog accountable too. So if you're the only one who's ever going to hold the dog accountable, the dog knows that. So if he knows with you, he can't jump on the counters, right? Because that's not okay. But when it's just him and the wife home, he's going to jump on the counters if she's like, not like consistently holding him accountable.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I've noticed in the households or clients where the dog takes one family member more seriously than the
Mm-hmm.
next is usually because accountability. The person that the dog's not taking serious isn't holding the dog accountable and making them follow through with things. The other person is. So I don't think it's a tone thing. And honestly, that's one of the things that that comes up during my training.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a client, husband and wife, same kind of thing. The husband told the wife, "You need to talk in a deeper tone." And the wife said, "Well, Susan talks soft and the dog listens to her." And I said, "That's right." Kind
Look
of
at
back,
her, she's smart.
right? Backing up the wife here. Because so my no's are so soft spoken because that's who I am. And they're just, and clients will be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe my dog's listening to that." Well, it's because the no is just a marker. So the word is just a marker. It's supposed to be devoid of any emotion. What comes
Mm-hmm.
after it is how the dog takes you seriously. So when I say no, it's always followed by a punisher that's effective, and so therefore they take me seriously. So it's just holding the dog accountable and following through.
Right. Right. I like that. She was like, well, Susan
I know.
doesn't raise her voice.
I know, and I'm like,
Like, go her. Oh gosh. All right. Question number 3. What are some reason that certain breeds are houdinis? Any tips for taming this urge?
Yeah, so some breeds have a higher um, energy levels, and so they might just want to get out and do things. So Houdini dogs are the ones that want to get out of cages, they want to jump over fences, they just want to get out. Um, and that's just due to their energy level and then lack of structure and or a consequence for doing so. So it depends what you're talking about. Is your dog a Houdini in the cage? Is your dog a Houdini outside in your fenced-in yard? Because the cage, I would just take it a little bit more delicately, and it's a little bit different of a process. But if we're talking about like jumping the fence and getting out of things like that, you'd want to correct that behavior because it's very dangerous. You don't want your
Mhm.
off-leash dog to be able to get out of your yard, possibly get hit by a car, picked up by somebody else, that kind of thing. So I
Mhm.
would um, kind of set the dog up, right? So if you have a fenced in yard, they'd have an e-collar on, and you can tell when your dog's thinking about it, right? So if you know your dog jumps a fence, you can tell when they're thinking about it. I would punish the thought of thinking of it, like that
Mhm.
act of thinking of it. So when the dog goes to look at the top of the fence and you can tell they're about to do
That's
it,
fencing down there about to do it.
then I would punish high level on the remote because that's just
Yeah.
a dangerous behavior.
Like honestly,
Don't
like
do,
you want to make.
go
Sorry,
ahead.
I was just saying to say like you want to not let that happen because I would much rather make this moment suck. I'd rather make the thought of jumping over the fence suck than you actually jump the fence and something horrible happen.
Mhm. Right.
But you were saying, sorry.
You don't have to be outside with them, right? Because ideally you'd want to mark no and then correct, but the no is just a marker. So if your dog only does it, when you're not looking kind of thing, then I would just be looking out the window. So your dog's outside, you're looking out the window, you're thinking about it, e-collar stim.
Hmm. I agree. Um, and then I was gonna add on the other side, like if you're talking about cages and things like that, um, my thought process on this is, so we're thinking about a crate, right? Uh, let's talk about a dog who can escape out of the crate and then just gets tabbed room to himself, right? The dog's probably thinking like, if I can get out of this crate and just chill in this room, then that's what I'm gonna do, right? If I can, then I'm going to. So maybe the dog's never been taught that they can't, right? So for me, somebody, Gaia, thought it would be fun to break out of a crate one day. Really didn't make me happy. So with her, she's already crate trained. She knows what's up. I just corrected it, right? So the second she starts like putting her little nose at the door, trying to push the door open, I corrected that because it's like, no, actually, you can't break out of your crate. Um, So that was my thing there, because when I think of people saying like dogs as Houdinis, I'm thinking of a dog who's bored, whose brain's going 1,000 miles a minute, who is like, I'm up for a challenge. Let me try to escape out of my crate, right? Um, so I just picture like, I can do it. Why not, right? Not a dog who like hates the crate or anything like that. Just like, why not, right? So I would just correct it if that's the case. Now, if your dog like isn't crate trained at all, then there's like different approaches to take. But if your dog's just like, I'm gonna break out today because I feel like it, then I would correct that. Because maybe he doesn't know that he's not supposed to. I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, I mean,
So
after I corrected Guy for, I caught her in the nanny cam trying to break out, and I was like, no, we don't do that, and I corrected it, and then she's like, okay, we don't do that, and doesn't try to break out anymore. Now she goes in and goes right to sleep.
good.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, question 4. If I have 2 dogs, can I train them together? And it kind of goes into our earlier question.
Right. So, okay, yeah, you can train them together eventually. So, in the beginning of training, you're always going to want to train the dogs as individuals. And there's a lot of reasons for it. The first reason is with any training dog, we always want to start out with 0 distractions because we want their full attention and we're teaching them a lot and it's a lot of thinking going on. So, we want no distractions. that second dog being there is a distraction in itself. So I always start all of my training off with dogs by themselves as individuals. Um, and then once you get to the point in that dog's training that you're ready to start adding distractions, then you would want to bring in the sibling and work them together. So I have a dog right now who I trained one of them back in February, and I'm back to train the sibling. I've been working them for about, I think this is our 3rd week of training, and I'm just ready to start adding in some distractions for them. So today was the first day of the 3 weeks that I've been there where I trained both dogs together. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be at the 3-week mark for everybody. It's going to be, when is your dog ready for a distraction? When is it fair to hold you accountable for a command with maybe your sibling walks out and they're crazy, right? Which they would be in training too. So you can train them together when it's fair for them, when they're ready for that level of distraction.
Mhm.
That being said, I would still make sure to take the time in training to work them as individuals, to help with like any separation anxiety issues with them and help them be like confident individuals. So I would work them separate to start off. When they're ready, work them together. But after this point, you still want to make sure to make time to work them as individuals. But yeah, you can definitely train them together when the time's appropriate.
Yeah, totally agree. Work them separately, each of them separately, and then work them together.
Right.
Mhm.
Pretty cool. Lots of like 2-dog questions today.
Yes, people have multiple dogs.
Right.
Good for you guys.
Right. Let's see. What question am I on? Oh, 5. All right, question 5. How do I get my dog to stop peeing and pooping in the house? We have 2 dogs, both almost 2 years old. She'll go outside for a half an hour and come in the house and pee. Our boy does not do this. He's very trained. She's a princess and very sweet and sort of does whatever she wants.
Okay. So I would ask first, is she crate trained? Because if she's not, then I would. And that's just going to help you be able to hold her more accountable, to where she's not able to just kind of walk around the house and pee or poop, and get her on the schedule. So you want to make sure she's on a nice schedule, and then you're taking her out. I'm assuming she's an adult dog, did it say?
Almost 2.
Okay. So she can hold her bladder. We know that. So you take her out, let's say 4 times to be fair. So she goes out right in the morning, she goes out in the afternoon, evening, and then right before bed. But we want to crate her in between those times and have structure so that she's not allowed to just be kind of free roaming in the house and have the chance to go to the bathroom in the house. So that's what I would do, is just implement structure at first, and then always have her kind of under your watchful eye, right? Because if you let her explore the house, she's going to go potty. So in the morning, you take her out, comes in, you put her in the crate, we go back out. So if, let's say in the morning you take her out, she pees and poops, awesome. We're still going to put you in the crate when we come back in, if we don't have time to like train you your commands, right? Because we want to have you have structure. If you do have time to work her through her commands, you could do like a place or a lay, a down, any of those. But like she's in a command, so she can't be free roaming the house. So she's either in a command or in a crate. But let's say you take her out in the afternoon and she doesn't pee and you know she has to. I'd come inside, put her in the crate, wait 5 minutes, go right back outside, and you play that game back and forth. So you take her outside, she still doesn't pee, you come inside, go right into your crate for 5 minutes, then we go right back outside. Then when you go pee outside, we're going to reward you. So we're going to give you some reward for that. Because she might not know to go outside. Like, we just assume that dogs understand that, and most of them do because they don't want to go to the potty in their house, right? But some dogs, they don't care. So she doesn't know any better. It's like teaching a command. So when she goes potty outside, you can reward her for that. What are your thoughts?
So we actually got this question like 10 minutes before we started recording this. And I did ask her for some more details, but she didn't see the message in time. So I did. I asked, I was like, is she crate trained? If so, utilize the crate just like Susan said. If not, work on crate training because it's a great life skill anyways, and it will help with this. My second question I asked was, what's her feeding schedule like, right? So if her food intake is on the schedule, the food leaving is going to be pretty much on the schedule too, right? So if she is a free feed, meaning you have food left out for her all day long, I would stop doing that and feed her on a schedule. Not just for potty training reasons. I really don't like free fed dogs. We can talk about that later. That's not my rant for today, but I would put her on a schedule to take care of that potty training issue. So between um, my first question is this new? So she's almost 2 years old. Has this been an ongoing thing? I don't know how long you've had her. I don't know if she's a new dog in general, but if you've had her for a while, has she always done this, or is this just started? Because if this is just started, I'm going to ask two more questions. Well, suggest two things. One, it could be a change in environment. So if this just started, did you just move to a new house, right? Did somebody new just move in with you? Things like that. If that's not the case and this just started, I'd probably take her to the vet and get her checked out, right? Because just in case it's some sort of like medical issue, you're going to want to check that out
Mm-hmm.
if this is new. If this is an ongoing thing, then yeah, you're going to want to leash and scheduled food, and everything should be in a routine and scheduled, like Susan said. And then my last note, just to add to what you said about taking her out, right? I don't know what you were thinking, but I'm visualizing that being on leash, right? So
Yeah.
outside should be on a leash. That way, because right now her thought process might be, my 30 minutes I just spent outside was playtime. I'm not worried about going to the potty, right? I'm just gonna play. When I go inside, I can relax and go potty, right? Because I don't have anything else to do inside. So she might be imagining outside is just playtime, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you want to differentiate playtime and potty time. So you can take her out on a leash. Wait a minute. If she doesn't go potty, go back in, do the crate thing like Susan said, then bring her back out on the leash. Then when you're outside just for fun, the leash can be off. But I would always go out on the leash, wait for her to pee or poop. Doesn't do it, great. Then back outside. Pee or poop. Then if she doesn't, then you can take her off and she can play. But
Nice.
yeah, I think that was all I had. I didn't want to just specify that leash thing.
Yeah, that's good. All these questions are so in depth. Like
You
it's
know.
not a simple answer. It is a lot of factors that go into it, but they're really good
Right.
questions.
Yeah, they are. So that's why, for anyone asking, the more information you can give us, the better, because we want to answer the questions specifically tailored to you to help you. But yeah, lots of different variables, and hopefully that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep us updated. Let us know.
Number 6. Is there a way I can turn my oh, I'm sorry. Is there a way I can train my dog not to go in the kitchen? Like boundary training?
You were breaking up a bit, but you said, "Is there a way I can train my dog not to go in the kitchen?" Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you can. Um, I've okay, so I can give some tips and advice and my thoughts on it, but I've never specifically trained in this way. The number one thing is going to be you have to be extremely consistent. Like dog training, you always have to be consistent, but for something like this, it needs to be black and white. Like no ands, ifs, or buts, no exceptions, right? So if you, in my opinion, for something like this, to make it fair for the dog, it needs to be very clear. That would mean if you're not home, if there's a door to the kitchen, I don't know, that would need to be closed, or your dog would need to be in a crate, right? So your dog can't just like wander in there when you're not home. So there's a few ways to do this. I would probably go with every time your dog gets near the kitchen threshold, you could tell them out if they know out. You could use spatial pressure and like walk into them to get them away. Apply some sort of pressure, right? Pressure can mean anything. It can mean leash pressure, e-collar pressure, spatial pressure, some sort of deterrent every time the dog comes to that boundary to get away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Every time, every time, every time.
Yeah.
And then when you're not right there at the threshold, or when you don't have like a leash and an e-collar ready to help them out, they're going to need to be in place or in a crate so they just can't wander in there without you knowing.
Right.
Because then if the dog can walk in there sometimes, they're going to gamble. They're going to
They'll just,
say,
they'll just know not to walk in there when you're there.
right.
They'll walk in there when no one's there. Mm-hmm.
So again, I haven't ever done that type of training before, but that's my thought process for it. But yeah, you'd have to, and you'd also want it to, again, to be fair for your dog, make sure it's a really clear boundary. So if you have like an open like layout kind of kitchen, you want it to be very clear boundary. Like you can put a piece of tape on the ground or something, right? So you're not correcting the dog when he gets a foot away from the kitchen this time and then a foot into the kitchen the next time, right? So be very clear and very consistent, and that's my best guess. What do you think?
Yeah. So I did teach Sadie that at our first home. It was an apartment, but it was really simple for me because of the layout of the house. Like you can only get to the kitchen through one area, and it was just like it was an open kitchen, but it was like the length of a doorway, like a normal doorway. And yeah, I would just spatial pressure her out. But she's a Malinois, and so she's not a typical dog. She'll do like anything you want her to, and she's really, really like, bam, on point.
Right.
So if you had a more challenging dog, then I would use like the e-collar and do spatial pressure, paired with e-collar pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can just do e-collar pressure. But I would kind of, me personally, would treat it kind of like a command at first. So I'm going to be fair at first. When you're approaching the boundary, like I'm going to spatial pressure you and like lower level on the remote. And then after we do that, like 100 times or a handful of times, like however much you think is fair, that you can tell the dog knows better, but they're like testing it.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm going to go to like a single corrector. I'm going to say no and correct you because you know better. Like,
right.
We've done this how many times?
Now, would you name it, or is just a matter of fact this is what it is, you don't go in the kitchen?
I don't think I would name it.
Yeah, because at first
you're not going in the kitchen.
Right, that makes sense.
But I wouldn't want to do like a BAM correction for that because it's like they don't know, whereas like jumping a fence, like you can't do that. This is just you keep going to that room. So I would just give them, I'd be fair to start, like give them help. And then
just a nameless command.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So like NCS and then to correctional.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Interesting question, because I haven't done that. So yeah, I guess because at first I was like, do it like out, but you could train it like you would train an out command, but without the word, almost.
Yeah.
But not exactly. I like what you said. That was good. Good information to have. Okay, so question 7. If we were done with that one, I'm just gonna pop on to the next one.
No, you're good.
Wow, it's so crazy because like all of our questions have kind of been tied in together. Like that one was a little different. Okay, so question 7.
Mm-hmm.
My dog jumped the fence last week. I was able to, right. As you were talking about that, I was like, Susan, stop. I have an actual question about that. Gosh, my dog jumped the fence last week. I was able to get her back home safely after a few hours of searching for her. The worst few hours of my life. What should I do? So Susan, if you want to just repeat yourself.
Yeah, just go ahead and
rewind a bit.
Yeah, can you just go back to question 1? No, so I would unfortunately make it very uncomfortable to jump that fence because we've already jumped it once. It's not just like he tries to, he's done it. So he's gonna do it again. Ideally, you'd want him on a long line. That way you have some control because we know your dog can already jump the fence. So I would hate for you to miss the time of correction. Correct too late, your dog still jumps over. Because then they might get confused and like, still getting them back. So it'd be nice to have them on a long line. And then if they even think about it, no, correction. The correction could be like a firm prong and leash pop down paired with the e-collar, or you could just do the e-collar, but the leash is there just to prevent the dog from making it over the fence. If they only do it when you're not looking at them, then again, I would just watch through a window. They go next to that fence, I'm just going to hit them. Like if they go next to it and look up, I'd correct them then. Because you just want to make sure that they don't actually get over the fence.
Right.
But just another thought, if your dog only does it when you're not there, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not comfortable with my dogs outside without me. Like I know people have fenced in yards to kind of save time, here, go potty, but we know your dog already jumps the fence. that would make me extremely uncomfortable not being out there with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be
Lost
out there
that
with
privilege.
them. Yeah, right.
Right. Yeah, no, I completely agree with everything you said, especially like the being outside alone thing, and not judging anyone who does, because, my family dog, he's outside whenever he wants, and we're not out there with him all the time. My personal dog, I don't let her outside without me out there with her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm just not comfortable with it, right? So why risk it? I agree with everything you said. That's one of those, I'm gonna make it suck because I don't want you to jump this fence and something horrible happen. Um, and I know as an owner, to hit your dog at a very high level on the e-collar, you might feel some type of way about that. But you have to be emotionless about it. If I can speak. So in your mind, think of it as a great quote trainer I know said, "We are bound by the same law," right? That helps me when I'm in situations like this. If you do X, I have to do Y, right? I don't control it. It just happens. If you go to jump over the fence, there has to be a correction. Now I know I have to be the one to hit the button, whatever. That's how it is. Like, and if you're having any upset feelings about it or whatever, remember how you felt when you were searching for your dog for hours. That worry of if they're okay, did they get hit by a car? Did somebody pick them up? Am I ever going to find them? Making the thought of jumping the fence or the act of jumping a fence suck 1, 2 times, it's going to be worth it. That's my rant on that. Another thing I wanted to add, again, with keeping it very black and white, if your dog is the type to like jump on the fence, like not jump over it, but like jump up and they put their front paws up on the fence, like don't
Mm-hmm.
allow that either, right? Because that's still pushing it. And I think you did say this after I wrote it down on my little notepad. But like you just don't need to be near the fence, right? Like why do you need to be near the fence? So make it really clear though, because if your dog is even just putting their front feet up on there or like looking around like okay, maybe I can jump this fence, I would like not allow that either, because again, in this case, your dog can do it.
Right. It
So
leads.
why are you putting your front feet on the fence? Why are you thinking about it? We know what the intention is. We know you're gonna jump over it. You just
Mm-hmm.
don't get to do that.
That's good. I
And
didn't think about that. That's good.
I always see, gosh, I was walking. Side note, I was walking my dogs today, training dogs, and I see this huge dog up with his paws on the fence,
Oh.
not happy that we're walking by his house. And we took the long way back because I was a little worried he was gonna jump.
Oh God.
So yeah,
Yeah.
we don't put our feet on the fence. The fence is there to not be touched and to keep the dogs in the yard.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, your question.
All right. Question 8. What is your favorite part of dog training?
I have so many favorites. Let's think. I think my favorite part as a trainer is the aha moments, right? So when I'm working a dog and they're struggling with the same thing, when they finally get it, it's just so awesome to watch that. So like an example, like I'm teaching a dog like down, right? And I'm using leash pressure and the dog just doesn't get it. And they're like, I don't know how to turn this off. I'm just gonna stand here, right? Where the day they finally down, I
Yeah.
just love it.
That's
And then
good.
it's so hard because like right, we talk about having to keep everything neutral. So it's just good. And here's a
I
treat. And
know.
inside I'm just screaming. I loved that when I was at your house and I was watching you train and we would have an aha moment and then we just looked at each other and we would be like, right? Uh,
Yeah. And you could be like, good, and then heavy reward, like they
right.
get a
Like
party
here's
food,
right.
or you get pet. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, your marker word technically should be
Supposed to sound the same.
neutral. Yeah. So
Does
it's
that
just a
always
two-way word.
happen?
No, because I'll be like, good instead of good.
I know. But we're human, right? And
Yeah.
like this is our job and we love it. So when we do something good, sometimes I'm gonna like be a little more excited. I have another favorite, but last time I said them both and I got in trouble, so I'll just say that one. Um yeah, it's
Nice.
just so great, like because then you can see like their gears turning, right? So then that aha moment, but also leading up to it, and you can just see them thinking and putting the pieces of the puzzle together. I just love it. I'm like, you know what I'm saying,
Right.
right? Like that's to me is just gives me goosebumps.
Yeah. I like
What is
that,
your
but
favorite
I'm
part?
gonna say I love the client community, like the client education. Like I really do. I love when someone wants to learn, probably because I love talking about dog training. So like Rachel and I would just sit here and talk about dog training for, an hour after the show.
Right.
Um, because it's so cool and I love having someone to like share that with as well. So
Mhm.
if I'm at a one-on-one session at a client's house, and their dog starts to have that aha moment, put the pieces together, it's really cool to then have that person to share it with. You know,
Right.
I love that.
Dog training is so awesome.
It is. Everyone should
Right.
do it.
Yes.
Everyone's a dog trainer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a whole
Hmm.
nother conversation. But our dogs are always learning, so careful what you're teaching them. Check on my toes. Um, yeah, I just love it. And then just to add one more thing out there, since you didn't like say it, um, I just love like, okay, this is gonna sound like somebody. I just love helping people. You know, when you've got somebody who has a dog, and of course they love their dog with their whole heart, but they're miserable with them because they can't do anything with their dog because their dog pulls them on a leash, and you can't take them anywhere, and you can't do fun things with them. By training the dog, and like I talk about training as like a language, right? So you train a dog, now everyone is speaking the same language and everyone can communicate so fluently, and now you can go do all these great things with your dog. Like, how awesome is that?
It is. Like it's
Love.
so undervalued, I think, because I don't know
Mhm,
that people know it's an option. But you
mhm,
can enjoy your dog.
mhm.
Like you can go out and just exist and be and like take your dog everywhere that they're allowed to go.
Right,
How great is that? It's
right,
so great.
and I love that you said that because it's like, growing up, okay, I didn't know people had other people train their dogs. Did not know that was a thing, like for the longest time. Um, But yeah, it's just like you don't have to just if you can't take your dog out and do these things, it's not just, oh, this is my dog, I have to manage it. I wish I was lucky and got a dog that was just naturally good. It's like, no, you can just train your dog.
Yeah.
And then like so many doors open up. It's just crazy. Dog
Yeah.
training is great. I love dogs. Gosh. Such a fun question. All right, so question 9. Let's talk about opening some doors. So I plan on traveling a lot this summer. It'll all be social distancing and super COVID safe, whatever, right? So we're going to be going to different campsites, and we're going to be gone for a total of 3 months. It's going to be a 3-month trip. How can I prepare my dog for this trip? She's been in the camper before and on camping trips with us. She does well, but it's just been for the weekend, not nearly this long. So, how to prepare a dog for a 3-month camper trip.
Okay. So, how is your dog's day now? Now, this might be the answer to every single question, but structure. So if you have your
It
dogs,
is.
right? They just structure, structure, structure. Okay. If you have your dog's life structured and they know their basic commands and you hold them accountable, you can take them anywhere. So I don't know how much time you have before this camping trip, um, but teach them a good place, lay, kennel, um, if you have room in your camper for your kennel. But place, lay, and recall. I mean, if you
So
have
you're
time for
gonna
all
want
the
a
commands,
solid recall.
if you have time for all the commands, of course we would say that. But I would say that yeah, those three, like recall, place, and down or lay, whichever one you use. Um, but yeah, if your life is structured, or your dog's life is structured, and you hold them accountable and you teach them those three commands, they'll be fine. They'll be just fine.
Right.
You can take them anywhere.
Yeah,
What do you
no,
think?
exactly what you said, just structure. Um, Now, if you want to really have a lot of extra fun in it, because like if you're leaving tomorrow, you're leaving tomorrow. But like if you've got a while and like why not? I would, assuming the camper's at your house. Actually, I know who this is, so I know the camper's at their house. Go and work the dog in the camper, right? So you're going to be there for 3 months. So any extra stuff you do now to help, isn't going to hurt anything. So we'll say the dog's fully trained. Work with them in the camper. Be like, remember, same rules apply here, right? Because you might as well do it while you're home before you're stuck in there for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then just stick to a schedule. So when you're on the road, like the dog's life is going to still be the same. We're still going to practice our obedience commands. You're still going to sleep in your kennel at night. You're going to eat when I feed you. Things like that. But dogs like don't think of things the same way we do. They're not going to be like, as long as your dog has structure, right? They're going to look to you for guidance. So it doesn't matter where you're going to be. But yeah, I mean,
It's
it
as
just,
simple as that.
yeah.
It's as
But
simple as that. Mm-hmm.
then as far as like exercise purposes, just because like you're gonna be in a little camper all day, mental exercise is gonna be your best friend, right? All the obedience commands that you gonna want to be working on anyways with your dog. Lots of mental exercise, and then you can do recall games, right? So I know it's 2 people going, so I don't know how much hiking they're gonna be doing, right? But if you wanna have your dog outside the camper, have 2 people go like far apart, and then just recall the dog back and forth. That's a way to get some physical exercise in. Yeah, your dog is gonna look to you for guidance, and you just want to make sure you're consistent giving that structure. And everything else is gonna be fun.
Nice.
Yeah,
What an adventure. How cool.
I know. I was like, I want to go in a camper for 3 months and just peace
Right?
out.
Yeah.
Well, you
So
take me with you?
I'll train your dog.
Yeah, I'll take care of the dog. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of him the whole 3 months. You don't have to worry about a thing.
It's not a bad exchange.
Right? Like, don't worry about preparing your dog for this trip. I've got it.
I got it. Okay, last question. My Chihuahua is very stubborn and won't take treats. How can I train her?
So, this is your Chihuahua. So you control all the food that it eats. I would use that to your advantage. So your dog won't take treats from you. That's fine. Maybe it just doesn't want the treats, right? It's not feeling it. But I'm assuming at some point your dog eats. Use that for training, right? Now, at first, the first day you do this, right? So instead of putting your Chihuahua's food in the food bowl and feeding them like that, you're going to use the food to train your dog. Now, first day your dog might be like, no, just like put it down and give it to me for free, right? I don't want to work for this, just give it to me for free. If that happens, you're going to say, okay, we're not going to eat tonight. Your dog's not going to get that free meal. You have to work for it. So you're going to put the food away. And then the next morning, your dog's probably going to be a little more hungry. You're going to try the same thing. You're going to say, okay, I have your breakfast ready. Let's work for it. It can go either way. If your dog's going to work for it, great, here's your breakfast. Through working, because in the beginning of training, your dog gets a lot of food. So you can very easily give them their whole breakfast in one training session. But if they don't, then you don't get breakfast. We'll try again at lunch maybe, or we'll try again at dinner. But do that and your dog is going to eat. You're at a great advantage here because it's your dog, right? And like I said, you control all the food they get. That puts you at a super awesome advantage that I wish I had right now, but I don't. So yeah, just use that to your advantage. Your dog is going to get hungry at some point, and then eventually they're going to learn working for food's not so bad. So then down the line, if you want to go back to regular meals, does it help or does it hurt, right? Is it going to be worth it to change it or keep doing what you're doing, right? But they're going to learn, oh, having like a food drive and working for food is fun. But to start off, your dog will not starve themselves to death. If they miss a few meals, I promise you they are okay. And it's just going to make them want to work more. So that's what I think.
Yeah. That's exactly what I would have said. You know, just use their food to train, like their daily food to train. And like Rachel said, the first couple days, this Chihuahua probably won't work for her food.
Because why not when she can get it for free?
Yeah, that's okay. Just wait her out, like she was trying to wait you out. But like Rachel said, she's not going to starve herself. She'll eat.
I think I've said that like 5 5 Q&As in a row. But I promise you, there has been studies done. Your dog will not starve themselves to death. So, but yeah, do that to your advantage. Work for your food, guys. Well, that's Q&A number 11 down. Love doing. So anything else, Susan, from you?
No, that's
All
good.
right.
That's it.
Well, thank you everybody for watching. We
Yeah.
love doing these, so keep asking your questions because again, we love doing these. We love answering questions. We love talking about dog training. So yeah, keep asking your questions. You can comment anywhere. We're gonna see them. And yeah, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Pack Leader Dog Training and at Rachel Fuller Dog Training. So
Nice.
see you all next week.